and minarets. There's a book also that details and outlines priests from Spain and Portugal coming to America. In the 1500s, this book was written, and it has a melanated woman chief on top of these pale slave servants.
Wow.
Right? And the book is it's called A History of America, something like that, real old book. And in the book, it talks about the different cities and places that the colonists or the conquistadors saw. Cities and towns that already exist. When they come there, they said, we came to this city, we saw Montezuma in the city of XYZ.
Mexico
a city
City
that they're
now.
calling it today. Right.
Yeah.
A city that they're calling it today.
That's a good point.
They are saying we went to these places in America. So they did not build these places when they came to America. So our people got a different perspective of what happened in colonization. When they came to America, it was already thriving civilizations with different shades of melanated people. Some having African blood, some having a mixture of Asian blood. It was a mixture. It was a mountain pot. The same way America is today is what it always was.
Wow.
Right? So now that we got that out the way and we targeted Hispaniola, Haiti, just some background information. My father is Haitian, so I have Haitian ancestry.
Oh, wow.
And my mother is Gullah Geechee from Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Now, interesting story is, just quickly, my 5 times great-grandfather escaped slavery in Georgetown, South Carolina, to Marysville, South Carolina.
Wow.
And Marysville was a town founded by a free black woman, right? And it got incorporated into the city of Charleston in the 1960s. But my grandfather escaped because he, unalived the slave master who was trying to, take his wife by
This is interesting.
force.
Wow. Yeah.
And he escaped with his wife and his 3-year-old daughter. But that's my mother ancestry. On my father's side, I have a last name that's, we can talk about this later when we talk portions about the status correction.
Right.
My slave name, Casimir, right, is Polish. So I always wanted to know, how does a name like that end up in Haiti? Well, in the Haitian Revolution, there were Polish soldiers who were fighting against Haiti at one point. But then the Haitians gave them an ultimatum of, you join us and fight with us against France, Spain, England, and all of that, then, we'll give you safe harbor.
Wow.
So there were, but that's not on my paternal lineage side. There's still some clarity that has to be made for that. But my point is, when we're talking about the Haitian Revolution, that island, because it culminated in all the superpowers of Europe fighting against all of the indigenous powers in the Americas. Because when Haiti was liberated, the rest of the Americas began to get liberated.
Yes,
you had the Muslim rebellion in Brazil that took place after that. But the Haitian Revolution, what a lot of people don't realize, was a lot of different tribes that were indigenous to the area,
yes, sir,
and that were from West Africa. Because when they got there, they said that the Haitians, come from Taino people, because it was Haiti, right? They come from indigenous peoples as well. But you also have that African presence there who were trading long before Columbus got there, because when he got there, they said, we've been trading these spear tips called guanine that's mixed with some different type of alloys that they do in West Africa. So you have the Yoruba and the Dahomey culture who were also brought to that island. And that's where you get the concept of voodoo, right? But what they don't speak about is the Islamic presence there,
right, or
the Muslim presence there, that came from the marabouts of West Africa.
Wow.
In West Africa, there's these holy men, these Muslim scholar holy men, Sufi types called marabouts. You can find a lot of them in Senegal today. They were also brought to America. And they participated in the Haitian Revolution. So like earlier shades of the Haitian Revolution was a dude, I think he was from Jamaica. His name was Boukman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Heard of him.
Boukman comes from bookman or man of the book, which is in Islam, pretty much a man of the kitab. You see what I'm saying? The book, the holy book. So there's a lot of history that's been hidden about the Islamic presence in Haiti and its Haitian Revolution as well, So when we start to talk about Toussaint Louverture, something we was talking about earlier, is that what our people don't understand a lot of times, because based on a lot of the arguing that took place in the comment sections of the posts, is that they don't understand that Moor is a legal and political term historically that applied to our people. In terms like African or tribal designations are more archaeological and anthropological in their usage. So they're trying to take, I know because there was a lot of litigation that I was involved in many years ago as it pertains to the Moorish ID identification and status. And when it's applied in a legal venue, it is applied, Africans and terms like that is applied in a more archaeological and anthropological term. But Moor is applied, or when you are using it, it's applied in a legal and a political sense, because the U.S. had a dictionary that they put out in the early 1900s called the U.S. Dictionary of Races and People. And it defines Moor. And even the Britannica, I put out a definition on TikTok and another place on Instagram and all of that, that details from the Britannica encyclopedia that American Negro is a new cultural product, as they say, consisting of all the tribes of Africa, including Moors and Arabs, right? As well as diverse from the yellow Hottentots to the south to everybody, the Bantus, everybody. And it says even if the African American didn't have Native American or white ancestry, they still would be so different from any single tribe in Africa that they're their own group.
Wow.
So you're looking at a bloodline that has now combined, it's like the Infinity Stones. You collect all of them, combine them to one power. That's what the African American, as they term, has that bloodline. But my point is, the definition says including Moors and Arabs. So a lot of times our people get caught up into what they identify with, not realizing that all of these identities we say we are consists within us in our bloodline. So we don't have to have preference to any one of them unless we want to. But we should use the right terms in the right venues for the right purposes, because it matters.
Yes,
because having that application extends certain rights to you that you don't have accessible to you due to them creating identities for us, slave names, racial classifications that place us at a disadvantage or as second or third class citizens within their geopolitical structure. You see what I'm saying? So when we start to examine all of the activity in the Americas, it's not a shock that Toussaint Louverture, and I know the picture you're talking about, it can be located at the Library of Congress as well. So you can Google it, people can pull it up. I know you're going to show the picture. And so that shows you as the evidence of what type of concept that they were dealing with when they were even dealing with liberation. Because when you really examine the liberation movements among the enslaved in the Americas, you're going to find out that they were Muslim most of the time.
Yes, sir.
And they were a more dominating force because they had a single language and they could read, write, and do math because that's mandatory in Islam.
Wow.
Whereas the tribes who weren't had issues communicating because the language was different. You see, so that gave the Muslims enslaved among them the opportunity to plan and prep.
It's an advantage.
Right. It's an advantage. You know. So yeah, I'll pause right there.
Bro, hey, killing it as usual, man. Again, bro, you said something that was very, very profound about cities, right? Me and Aaron, you know, we would have these same conversations all the time. Like New York, it was already there. Louisiana Purchase, Haitian Revolution leads to that. St. Louis, all of those things, right? Mexico City. Aaron, bro, if you can, man, because look, this time he's not sick, y'all, so he could give us a little bit of some gems. But bro, man, you told me at length about New York, St. Louis, like all those cities. So for all the people who don't know, America was already here, right? All the cities, all those things, right?
Yeah, definitely. Just like Mansa had laid out, those are ancient energy centers, and they've been here. You know, it's cultivated by the original Americans that were already inhabited, which the colonists have found, and you can tell just by the big thing is like the World Fair, right? Yeah. And so like the World Fair, if y'all are familiar with it, if y'all could just look it up. There's the one that I first came to was the one in St. Louis, and then there's one in San Diego, I think. There's New York, but there's several others, right? But if you look and research the World Fair, you'll see these buildings and these edifices where it's just if you look at the architecture, it's like nothing that we see today, right? And it's said, I mean, there's like monolithic structures, just like immaculate architecture, right? And it said that it was a tour. So, you know, the story is it's like the fairs was built, people came, you know, had fun there, whatever, spent the money, and then like they would take the buildings down and then move it and then build it up somewhere else, right? And it's cool if you don't like dive into it, sounds good, but when you really dive into it, you're like, oh, hold on, you look at the buildings and the structures and things like that, you're like, oh, these are complete cities and things like you know? And so why would you destroy it and then pack it up? And you can't physically do it. Like, we couldn't do that now with the technology that we have right now and the way construction has developed and the machinery and things like that. We couldn't pull that off now. Yeah. And, you know, we weren't pulling it off then. So really, that was destroying stuff that was there. And, you know, you have reconstruction eras of the history of the U.S. So all the timing, it just is, the chronology just fits of them destroying that stuff. And that's really the reborn evidence of the city that was really we're really the old world over here. So, and it was, you know, just reconstructing the history and things like that. So.
Wow. Bars, bro. So mosque in Haiti, right? So Aaron's point, you know, cities already being there. In school, we aren't taught about any of those things. Instead, you know, we're taught that Haiti, America, was this primitive place. Pre-colonialism, all of those things. So how advanced were we as a people during those times?
Well, man, it's real interesting because when you say that they don't teach us this stuff in school, they don't teach us this stuff in school because of how it would empower us. So a lot of scientists say you can't say something is happening today happened in the past, right? Unless you can prove it's happening today, right? So a lot of times when people ask me certain things about things, I try to show them something in real time that's happening, right? That can confirm that. And one thing we can point to confirm that is the governor of Florida has banned, DeSantis, has banned African American studies, saying it's not relevant to the curriculum. So and then Texas a few years ago were trying to reclassify slaves in the textbooks as migrant workers, right? So wow. So that's in real time. So they don't even want us to know.
Trying to change the history
again. Yeah. For the public So again, so when you say this is why they don't teach us this in school, because there's a narrative. If you one of the, I'm gonna go around the world and come back.
Yeah, you good.
One of the things I mainly want to do with my life, inshallah, I'm able to do it, is to build sustainable smart cities. Right? Little Wakandas everywhere.
Yeah.
Basically. I believe that's the future. And it's the present. And that's our pathway to ultimate, power, right? But when we examine, if somebody told you that we had the technology all along to have free energy, right? And we had cars made of hemp, cars to be able to run off water, and all type of free energy sources. There's a brother today that's drawing water, fresh water from the air, from the atmosphere.
Wow.
So if I told you all that stuff already existed, and you would be like, why we don't have that stuff today? And it's because it's been suppressed, because the technology already existed. When you really study the history, the European colonists, as we understand them to be, didn't really take power until the Civil War. People say the South didn't win the Civil War, but they did. Because when you look at who Abraham Lincoln's running mate was, he was a Confederate.
Stevens, right? Last name was Stevens. Yeah.
He was a Confederate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what happened when they killed Lincoln? Lincoln said under the 13th Amendment that the states didn't have jurisdictional authority over the freemen. And when that occurred, that means we had no jurisdictional subjection to the state powers, only the federal government, right? Because the Emancipation Proclamation freed people get caught up in slave, but it's really jurisdiction is the term that should be understood. Right? Because jurisdiction is who has the authority to determine legally what they can do with you under their power. So the 13th Amendment deprived the state of jurisdiction and enslavement powers. So they killed Lincoln, then took back the 40 acres and the mule that we were supposed to get.
Right.
And gave us the 14th Amendment, which makes the Bill of Rights binding on the states, and created a new citizenship type class.
Black codes.
Right.
Those get implemented. Wow.
Right. So my point in all of that is, and it was the Confederates who did it.
Right.
Because the dude who took over after Lincoln, so the reason all that's important is when you start to look at who the Confederates are, right? You're going to find out that the Confederates were actually that flag that they call a Confederate flag.
With the X, yeah.
That's called a rebel flag.
Yes.
Right? But they also got it from, I want to say the Iroquois or some Native American.
How ironic.
No, so if you look up Olmec statues, you see Olmec statues like ancient Mesoamerica.
I never knew that, bro.
You'll see like right under the neck, like under their chin, and you'll see a rectangle with the X on it. So that's an American symbol. It's ancient. It's been there. So they didn't create that.
Right.
As usual, right?
Just like red, white, and blue, they got that from the ancient Egyptians. And the sign that the Nazis in them ran with was a symbol of peace sign.
Yeah.
So it's just like you see with other things where other symbols are co-opted, that's all they did.
Wow.
So the reason all of that's important is because I'm going somewhere.
Right.
When you find out that the Confederate concept is a Berber concept, an ancient Moorish concept, because they had confederacies. Then you find out that the people who signed the Articles of Association, which is the founding document that turned the colonies into the process of becoming a nation state.
Right.
When you look up the people on the Articles of Association, a lot of them are described as having dark skin and being black Moors and swarthy, right?
Hey.
Right.
Wow.
Then when you start finding out stuff about King George and a lot of these European kings, you start finding out that they had dark skin, and they were called Moors too. Then it's a book, Ancient and Modern Britons, breaks a lot of that stuff down. So as you continue to go further back in time, you start unraveling that they didn't have a control or power like they do now back then, which is how they try to sell it to us. Because ancient America was already thriving with civilizations. See, a lot of people say this civilization came first, or Africa came first, or America came first. The world is billions of years old.
Right.
And, you know, they got, in the caves of Africa over there, they got dinosaurs painted on the walls running around with humans.
Wow.
And they found, it's a book called Forbidden Archaeology. They found human footprints next to dinosaurs. If some people say dinosaurs real, some people say they aren't. Point is, they found human footprints next to it. So my point is I don't get into the conversation of what's older. What I do know is that the ancient world had an international trade system like we do today.
Indeed.
And all European colonists did was get in the way and play middleman and take over. But they lied about who's who and what's what.